Hello, you're very welcome to Destination Uri's News Bite, but we're going to do it slightly different here this evening. I'm Damien McCullough, and we're going to talk to the Community Association. We're going to talk to Justin, Charlie Carr, and Jarlath down there in Rostrevor. So, lads, you're very welcome here. Anyway, we're doing a
Thanks,
little bit
Damien.
different, so we're having everybody on the screen at the one time, and we're going to be talking to the lads here. And we're going to be, firstly, I'm going to ask them their opinion because we're all involved in the GAA. Before we start, lads, where do you stand on Gaelic games commencing? I know my view on it. We'll start with Justin. Justin, you're deeply involved there down in Burren, chairman, and what have you. In relation to starting games, Justin, where do you see the problems?
Well, firstly, when we got the back to play protocol from Croke Park last Friday, you couldn't have imagined it to be as positive 3-4 weeks ago. We were very, very positive, and it's great to see light at the end of the tunnel. That said, there are some challenges, and I know the county board are working very, very closely to interpret that data, ensure that the competition process is right, and ensure that all of the clubs are working the same way. Where do I see the sticky points? Firstly, I would have to say that anything that we do in terms of any activity from senior to juvenile, be it parents, children, coaches, it all has to be on a voluntary basis. If somebody doesn't want to take part, it's absolutely their prerogative. And one of the onuses that the clubs will have to adhere to is to ensure that they're providing as much information as possible so the players, the coaches, and the parents can make an informed choice as to whether they want themselves or the people that they care for to be involved in football. I like the way the GA have done it, because even though while they opened up the walkways last Monday, and there's a proposal where on the 29th of June we're in a situation where smaller groups will be able to get field access, and then from the 20th of July onwards, it'll be full contact training before competitions begin at the end of July. The nice thing about that is that it does give clubs the appropriate amount of time to put the processes in place to ensure that the health and safety piece is right. So I'm very, very confident. I'm very, very positive. That said, we have to sort of be very, very understanding as that if there's any move back in terms of the R rate and in terms of the reinfection, we will have to look at the whole process again.
Thanks a million, Justin. Charlie, you're a footballer, and you're going to be involved in senior football this year. How do you see it going, and how do you feel about playing football?
As a footballer, Damien, I'm probably a wee bit selfish in that I'm delighted it's coming back, because it's been quite long since our last training session. I think it was St. Patrick's weekend, but I know yourself, you said you were pretty skeptical about it, and you have to think of it that way too, because the main thing is people's health comes before the football and stuff, as Justin said there, the 29th is something that at least now we have a date where we're looking forward to, or we're looking with a target set to get back. I know we're going to be going back in slowly and stuff, but no, I have to admit that I'm delighted, because at the start I thought that 2 or 3 weeks off football probably wouldn't have done anybody any harm. I never thought that it would go on to be 12, 13 weeks of nothing. So I'm glad that they're doing it in stages. The walkway is open first, as was already said, and then the 29th of June, hopefully we'll be looking towards slowly but surely getting back to the way it was. But there's a lot of dangers, like as Justin said too. It has to be up to people. If you don't feel comfortable going back, there's nobody should be judging you or anything. Your health's your wealth, so it's up to people themselves. If they want to make the decision of not going back, fair enough. But then I don't think you can take it away from people either if they do want to go back and are itching to get back on the field. And I'm sure it's the same for people, coaches and stuff. They miss it. Some coaches maybe won't want to go back as soon. Some coaches are probably dying to get back out of the house and down to get involved for the kids. So there's both sides of the argument, but I'm sure not everybody's going to agree, which is normal.
I think. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie, I think you're like a man looking to get into the traps there and get out and get a hold of the size 5 and start kicking it down Rostrevor Park down there. Where do you stand on all this?
Well, Damien, listen, fully concur with what Justin and Charlie had said there. I have to tell you, I have my reservations. I was our currently fixture secretary for 4 years, and I seen how difficult it was to fulfill a season when you had a 7 month or 8 month window to do it in. And that window of opportunity, Damien, as we all know, the clocks are on the turn again before the end of this month. And sort of these are the wee things that I had picked up over the years. Like if you have an inclement sort of late summer, early autumn, you're into issues right away there with pitch availability and so on and so forth. So I would have my reservations very much from that angle. And I mean, like, play it safe. And I mean, like if the safest option is to postpone or cancel or just draw a line under this year, I certainly would have no issue with that either, because it's different for soccer. It's different for a lot of these sports that where the crisis landed in mid-season. That hasn't been the case with Gaelic games. So I'd be inclined to play it safe, but I do foresee issues with pitch availability and so on at the latter end of the summer.
Well, there we go. It's split even. I'm the same as yourself, Charlotte. I'm a wee bit skeptical in the context. We're still not out of this yet, and there's still a big question mark. But as the other two lads says, there is a light shining, and with the pitches having a 13 or 14 week break, every Gaelic pitch in the country is looking fabulous. So I don't think the weather coming would be an issue, but we'll have to follow that story very carefully, and obviously, lads, we'll get your opinion on that. But we're going to do
Damien, just one point I would make on it. And again, I know that a lot of clubs, and I heard Charlie talking about it a couple of weeks ago as well. There's a lot of great work going on with particularly with the juveniles, and in terms of trying to keep them involved in skill workshops on a virtual basis. There's only so much you can begin to do before the motivation begins to sort of peter out, and that's happening at the moment. And I think there's a massive responsibility on clubs to ensure that if and when, hopefully when, we can get the guys back out in the pitch, that the level of health and safety admin responsibility on the clubs is going to have to be strictly adhered to. If we begin to squelch on that at all, well, we are going to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Justin. And of course, we all want to see it coming back. That's for sure. So we'll watch this story as the weeks continue. And as you said, 21st of June. The clocks, the days start getting shorter, unfortunately, and that's an awful thought. But anyway, here we are. We're going to do the news after we do the community association. So I'm going to go first to Justin, and Justin's going to tell me what's happening down around Burren. Then we're going to go to Charlie, and then we're going to finish down the Loch Shore, down beside Rostrevor. So Justin, tell us what's happening in Burren at the minute.
Well, thanks very much, Damien. And again, most of the news this week was about how we were going to actually deliver the football protocol back to play process. So, other than that, I was just asked by Collie Loughran, who heads up our youth club. He wanted to emphasise the fact that there's a free online stress control class available, which is supposed to be very, very good. Now, stress, as we know, is a normal reaction to uncertain times. And rapidly changing times, and we're definitely living through that at the moment. He was of the view that anybody with any issues around anxiety, depression, panicky feelings, poor sleep patterns, or poor well-being, this actual class is really, really set up. It is free of charge. You can find all of the information on nistresscontrol.org. On that website. The classes are streamed twice a week, and they'll be repeated 4 times. But all the information in terms of dates, scheduling, all the support materials are available on that website, nistresscontrol.org. And the feedback so far has been incredibly positive. In terms of the St. Vincent de Paul, just the news, they got some very, very good news recently, is that the St. Mary's Conference of the Vincent de Paul that cover Burren and Mayo Bridge, they recently secured a £10,000 reward for all lotto grant, and they're going to be using that to support individuals and families who have been or will be affected by the effects of COVID-19 over the coming weeks. But anybody needing any support in the Burren and Mayabridge area, there is a helpline. It's 07562 069 337. You can get that at the end of the screen as well. I'll not go into any more detail in terms of the actual back to play process. That said, I know that Sean McAteer and the county board are putting a lot of work and effort in trying to ensure that the actual guidelines they're giving clubs are as clear as possible. One of the things that we have been very, very clear on to our parents and the coaches is that once we have the information, we will be pulling together information Zoom calls to give individuals all of the information, as I mentioned earlier, that's going to be required to ensure that they can make an informed decision as to whether they want to play or not. And finally, and again, it's probably something that Jarlath will cover off later on as well. We just want to take the opportunity to offer Oliver McSwiggan and his extended family our condolences on the passing of his dad, Billy, who a big funeral in Rostrevor last Saturday. But condolences to Oliver and family. That's me this week, Damien.
Justin, thanks a million, and it's great also to have what's happening down in Burren. And good luck, I suppose, with the GAA at the end of the month. And let's see how it all pans out. Well, then we're going to go from Burren over to Hilltown, to the gateway to the Mourns from this part of the world, and we're going to meet Charlie Carr. Carly, you have plenty to tell us, and is there a great Yalla Day there? So tell us all about what happened.
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks ago, as I said, Down had organised a Red and Black Day for the start of the championship, so we sort of took a bit of initiative of trying to get the club involved in something similar, and we got a great response. I think the video is just going to play through as I speak, but it happened on Sunday past there, and the amount of people got in touch with the Facebook page was just brilliant, and we're delighted in the Keeping Clonduff Connected group that how it went, and hopefully you'll see plenty of familiar faces here, whoever's watching live. And just the mentioned last week, the step challenge that it started, a lot of people seem to have problems with the app, the Irish Life My Life app, with the steps being logged. If there's anything people aren't sure about with the app, don't be afraid to get in contact with the Facebook page, because I know some of my ones were out walking and stuff, and the steps weren't being logged. But it said it can take 24 hours, up to 48 hours for them to get onto the app. So just don't worry about it for now. Hopefully it'll register in the next day or two after you've done your walk. I just have a couple of congratulations here. Firstly, to Aaron Rafferty and Eamon Brown, who both received elite athletes. That's 5 from the club now. Both are going to Jordanstown, and hopefully they'll be getting in September, October time, or even if it's post Christmas, hopefully they'll be getting down and making full worth of their scholarships from university. We had 2 down draw winners, Artie Noel and Roisin McConville, and Martin McShane, both won £50 each. So it's great to see people in the club doing well out of that as well in the county. Our Facebook page reached 15,000 people this week, and we had almost 16,000 engagements. So it's amazing that, like, for an amateur sports club to cover and to reach so many people and to keep everybody involved is just brilliant. I couldn't believe it when I seen how many people there was. And that's things like getting people involved in the Yellow Day and the Red and Black Day, the skills challenges for the kids, and different things. And as I said, recently we've been starting to do our Oscar films. Rocky was filmed at the weekend, and tonight Bridesmaids is going to be going on. So if you've nothing to do, it's only 10 or 15 minutes. Give it a wee watch. I'm sure you get a good laugh, because definitely did at the weekend. I made a bit of a show of myself, but sure, it's all for a bit of crack, isn't it? The executive are doing a lot of work behind the scenes too. We already talked about it at the start, and Justin talked about it. We're working towards the 29th of June. The executive are all working hard. They're meeting weekly through Zoom, trying to put a plan and process for the safest way to commence football starting again, and hurling, camogie, ladies football, everything involved in the club. So hopefully they'll get up with something, come up with something good for people to trust the GAA's guidelines and get back involved in the club at the end of the month and the end of July. We have a couple of happy birthdays, as you can see at the bottom. A very happy 90th birthday to Bridget Ward, who's a Clonduff and Down fanatic. We had it up on our Facebook page, and she's looking great for 90. To Keelan McLean, who's 12 this week, and CJ O'Hagan, who is 1 today. So just happy birthday to all three. And just to finish off, like to wish Aidan Kelly a speedy recovery, who had a wee accident on the bike last weekend, and our on-field rivals Mayo Bridge would like to offer our deepest condolences on the death of Michael Rogan, and the deepest sympathy to his family. So it's very sad times for everybody in Mayo Bridge, but hopefully as a club they can pull behind, and if there's anything needs done in Clonduff, we'll be sure to help them. So thank you very much, Damien.
Well, listen, Charlie, thanks a million. There's no question about it. Once tragedy hits and there's involving Gaelic clubs, and whether it's Mayo Bridge, Carrick and Burren or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, the clubs get behind the people, and they give great support. They give great support, and long may it continue. So listen, Charlie, thanks a million. And I have to say, your videos are brilliant. There is no doubt about it. Like, they're class, and there's great, you know, they're absolutely worth watching. So I would again say to everybody, get in and watch the videos again. They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And Clonduff doing great work there. The gateway to the mornings. So well done, Charlie. Thanks a million.
Bye-bye.
Now we're gonna slip down over the hill, back down into Rostrevor, and we're gonna see, can we get Jarlath Tinley. Jarlath's just lying back there thinking, yes, everything's good to go here. Jarlath, what's happening down on the Loch Shore down there?
Yeah, Damien, how are you? Yeah, everything's good down here in Rostrevor. Good to join you again this week.
It's always good to have you on board, Jarlath.
Thank you very much. Listen, I'll start this week's roundup, Damien, in Cabroni Park. Reopened recently within the past few weeks, and visitors may have noticed that since the park has reopened, a number of areas within the park are now being left uncut. Now, this is part of a council rewilding strategy, where areas are going to be allowed to return to their natural state of growth and flowering to encourage more biodiversity across the district. And it actually was featured tonight on BBC Newsline. So it is a district-wide initiative, and I think people generally have become much more eco-aware and environmentally aware, and I think this sort of thing would be greatly encouraged, where a number of years ago, Damien, people nearly would have been given off because of the length of the grass in certain areas. But the areas in Cabroni Park in particular, they're actually test areas, because those rewilding spots, it's not just a matter of not cutting the grass and just letting nature do the job. There's actually work to be done. They have to be nurtured and they have to be maintained. So these are test areas to actually secure locations where this can be done in the longer term. So, I mean, like I've already said, that people are increasingly aware of the environment around them, including the importance, of course, of bees to our ecosystem, etc. And the more popular these rewilding sites become throughout the district, I think the greater the demand will be that they're provided in all towns and villages. Now, sort of half related to that, in relation to being environmentally aware, Damien, unfortunately, some people aren't as sympathetic to protecting the environment as most are, and it's possibly due in part to the reduction in the opening hours of the household recycling centres. But fly tipping has become an absolute scourge throughout the district over the past 3 months. Very few people, I would suggest, however, would consider desecrating the sanctity of their own local cemetery with their waste and builders' rubble. But that, incredibly, Damien, is exactly what has happened recently in Rostrevor. Now, needless to say, this has caused great upset and annoyance amongst local people, that others could be so callous and disrespectful of their loved ones' final resting place. I will end this particular bit on happier news. I'm delighted to say that I had a meeting on site with our council officers on Monday past, and they have agreed to fence off the area in question to discourage any repeat offending and generally tidy up the area. And I would expect that work to take place within the next week or so. We all are aware, Damien, that the shops are continuing to reopen as the lockdown eases, and it's fair to say there's a lot of independent retailers and family businesses that have been absolutely decimated by this health crisis. And my plea tonight, this evening, to people is that we've all got used to supporting our local businesses over the past 3 months, and I am pleading that that continues in the time ahead. The multinationals will always absorb the downturn much more easily and recover much more quickly than local independent retailers. But we should never ever forget, as a society, these local businesses are the backbone of our communities, and they are going to need our help and support and custom now more than ever. These are the people who will buy the tickets when there's draws coming up and never ever say no to local people. I also know particularly local businesses here that would actually offer credit when times are tough, and nobody has ever been turned away when they're coming in for essential supplies. So you're not going to get that in the big multinationals. So I can't emphasize that enough, Damien, how important that is. The next thing I want to talk about is a thing called the Poly Project. You may or may not have been aware of it, Damien. And I'll tell you what, we'll watch this wee video first here that Cahill's going to put up, and then I'll come back in on that.
My brother. My boyfriend.
My brother.
My partner.
My son.
My daddy.
So, Damien, back in January, I was honoured to attend the Omniplex in Newry for the official launch of a road safety film called the Poly Project. It features local families who have been bereaved by the loss of a loved one through road traffic collisions within our district. And it also features a man who suffered life-changing injuries, both for him and for his family. It's an incredibly poignant film that lays bare the pain and loss that these brave families continue to endure, including the family of a local lad here, Owen Farrell, who tragically lost his life on the Kibroni Road in the village nearly 5 years ago. And I was delighted to hear this week that the film in its entirety, we've just seen a small clip there, the film in its entirety is to be released online tomorrow evening via Facebook, and I'm assuming it's at Road Safe NI, but no doubt it'll catch fire as soon as it goes live. It should be essential viewing for all, but particularly, Damien, I would plea to young drivers to watch this video from start to finish, and I would encourage parents and friends of all young drivers to watch it and learn the lessons within it, because it actually could save your life. And finally, since we last spoke, we've had 2 more funerals in the village, unfortunately. Damien, Justin mentioned one of them there, Billy McSwiggan. Billy was a stalwart of St. Bronagh's GAA Social Club for many years. He must have fed and watered thousands of patrons over the years at club functions, etc. And of course, he also supervised the post-training meals for many footballers throughout the years, including the All-Ireland winning teams of the early 90s. So deepest sympathies to the family of Billy McSwiggan, and may he rest in peace. And then today, I also attended the funeral of a cousin of my own, Kieran Tinley. Now, Kieran was a quiet, unassuming man. He worked in Reed's factory many years ago in Warren Point. Then he went to Braham's Electrical, where he worked in the wholesale end. And then for many years, Kieran actually run his own successful electrical shop there in Duke Street in Warren Point, where people were able to come in and buy electrical goods. And he also was a wholesaler to tradesmen. So my deepest condolences to Kieran's family and to Billy's family. So that's it for this week for me, Damien. And as always, I am delighted to receive any news or bits and pieces that people would like me to mention. And hopefully I'll speak to you next week.
Charlotte, again, thanks a million. Great feedback there and great reporting from Rostrevor. Thanks a million. And thanks to Justin and thanks to Charlie. We're going to do the news now, and please bear with me because I was having a little technical problem there. So hopefully I'll not go off air until we get this completed. So I'm going to give you the coronavirus update. No new coronavirus related deaths in Northern Ireland for the fourth day in a row, but the death total still stands at 537, while in the Republic 5 more people have died since yesterday, and the total in the south of Ireland is 1,695. The total deaths in the island of Ireland is 2,232, with confirmed cases in the Republic of Ireland of 25,231, and a total of 40,883 people have died in the UK. In Scotland, a total of 4,000 deaths in Scotland have now been linked to COVID-19 according to the latest figures. The National Records of Scotland indicated that 89 people died in the weekend in the 7th of June, down 42 in the previous week. The NRS figures have now shown a reduction in the number of deaths from COVID-19 for 6 weeks in a row. Deaths involving COVID-19 accounted for 8% of all deaths registered last week, down from 36% at its peak. The largest proportion of COVID-19 deaths last week, 47%, were still related to care homes, but the proportion has dropped back from previous weeks. That's good news. In Wales, the official death tally from Public Health Wales has gone up by 9 to 1,419. Globally, as of today, the 10th of June, there have been 7,145,539 confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 408,025 deaths reported to the World Health Organization. Coronavirus. Arlene Foster holds firm on the 2-metre rule. Social distancing rules advise people to stay 2 metres apart remain in place in Northern Ireland, the First Minister has said. Discussions are continuing within the executive about reducing the distance to 1 metre, Arlene Foster has said. The World Health Organization says 1 metre is safe, but some countries, including UK, have gone further. Mrs Foster said the medical advice was that staying 2 metres apart was the safest place to be. Last week, Economy Minister Diane Dodds said she wanted health officials to provide a guidance about reducing the distance, as it would make it more viable for the tourism and hospitality sections to operate. And how will the hotels manage social distancing rules? Ms Foster said on Wednesday that the issue was a matter of discussion about managing risk. We're looking at how people could move to a 1 metre scenario in different settings, she says. It comes as there were no coronavirus deaths in the last 24 hours. So this is, again, as I said, the 4th day in a row and the 5th since the 18th of March that a daily update from the Department of Health has recorded no new deaths in the 24-hour period. A total of 13 more people have positive tested. So there's 4,818 confirmed COVID-19 cases in Northern Ireland. The number of coronavirus deaths in the UK would have been halved if lockdown had been introduced a week earlier, a former government advisor has said. Professor Neil Ferguson, who's in the UK lockdown began on the 23rd of March, the number of people known to have died with coronavirus stands at 40,883. Had we introduced lockdown measures a week earlier, we would have reduced the final death toll by at least a half, Professor Ferguson has told the committee of MPs. So whilst I think the measures, given what we knew about the virus then in terms of its transmission, were warranted, certainly had we introduced them earlier, we would have seen far fewer deaths, he says. But Professor John Edmonds, another scientist who advises government, recently said the delay to go into lockdown cost a lot of lives. But he also said the data available in March was quite poor, making it very hard to do so. The lockdown rules indicated that many lives in care homes could have been saved, but simply failed to happen, he said. Here, there are 291 confirmed cases in Newry Morning Down, and in Newry Morning Down, 44 people have died. There are 538 confirmed cases in Armagh City and Banbridge, Craigavon area, and the same area, 75 people have died of corona-related disease. Other news, just hot off the press, Joshua and Fury to fight in 2021. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, our very own friend of Destination Newry, we did have him in a couple of years ago, have reached an agreement to fight twice, with the first bout to be held next year, according to promoter Eddie Hearn. Now that's one well worth watching and well worth waiting for. The Olympics will not be done with grand splendour. Tokyo 2020 CEO Toshiro Muto says that the rearranged Olympics will not be done with grand splendour, but will be simplified. The Games originally scheduled to start next month were postponed for a year in March by the International Olympic Committee and the Japanese government due to COVID-19 pandemic. Since then, organisers have been looking at ways to reduce costs and streamline the Games. Following a virtual presentation to the IOC Executive Board in Lausanne, Tokyo 2020 organisers stressed the need to simplify the Games without giving details about how it could be done. The Games will not be grand splendour, but will be a simplified Games, said Mr. Muto. In order to simplify the Games, we need to review and understand international federations, NOCs, broadcasters and partners. These stakeholders must act in unison to make sure of a simplified Games. So it looks as if the Olympic Games will go on next year, and we hope they do. And that's it up. That's a wrap up for this evening. Thanks to Justin, Charlie and Jarlath for the community news, and thanks to Cahill, and we'll just finish.
Watch Destination Newry on your smart TV. Effectively, go to your control. You have different options in the control. The top left-hand corner or the center buttons. You'll have action menu, apps, back home. Try each of them. What you're looking for is Facebook Watch or YouTube. So for instance, then you just click, say for instance, I have mine on home. So you click home and hopefully it'll come up. And then you go down, you look for YouTube. When you go into YouTube, go to the left-hand side and look for the search symbol. So when this loads up, go to the left-hand side, just push it over to the left. There's home, there's the search, and you can search for Destination Newry here. Just put in all the word. Once you've done it once, it'll always be there. Click on it, and we should show up. So there it'll show you the latest live. You'll be able to go through all the videos we have the whole way along in the past and different ones coming up live. Just click on it if you want. You can do it beforehand. It says it's going to be live in 37 minutes on the 8th of June. So that's how you add Destination Newry to your smart TV. Simple.